I want to talk about the Corporate Transparency Act. For those of you just joining me, welcome on in. I am the Moneyista, Natasha Varela, business owner, real estate investor, 20 years audit, accounting, and tax, 13 in the large business and international division of the Internal Revenue Service. So, what is the Corporate Transparency Act? Well, basically, it's the government's way of trying to crack down on embezzlement and fraud through shell companies. A shell company is an entity that's formed that has no real operations. It just is holding income, and it's usually a way for people to evade their tax liability by shifting income in and out of these complex entities that own each other and own each other and own each other, and not being transparent as far as who the owner is, okay? And so the government now, starting January 1st, 2024, will require all entities filed with the Secretary of State to file what they call a beneficial ownership information report. This is not available until January 1, so if you are searching for it, before January 1, you will not see it on fincen.gov. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things, particularly with my business owners, my small business owners, because we cannot really tackle things like fines and penalties like large corporations can. And so if you are already an LLC or an S Corp, you're already formed through your Secretary of State, you're an entity, you're in business, you have until the end of next year to file the beneficial ownership information report, okay? And every day you do not file after the due date is a hefty penalty. So please, please, please put that in your calendar, put it in your alarm, however you want to do it, okay? If you form your entity after January 1st, you have 30 days to file the beneficial ownership information report unless otherwise extended, and they are thinking about extending it by another 30 to 60 days. For those of you who are LLC owners and you are not involved, you've abandoned ship, right? It's inactive, go ahead and dissolve it before the year end. You can go to your Secretary of State website and just plug it in the Google or in the search bar, or do a Google search, dissolve LLC, and then insert your state. It'll likely lead you to several links in the Google search to your Secretary of State where you can fill out the form and pay the fee, and then mail it in, certified return receipt, and wait for your answer, right? You got to wait for a letter stating that the Secretary of State has actually dissolved your LLC, okay? So for those of you who are concerned about privacy, okay, because everybody's saying, well, doesn't that negate privacy, laws when you try to set up your LLC and say, I don't know, Wyoming or Delaware, those states that have very favorable laws to business owners, right? And I will say this, much like your tax return, nobody can look it up without your consent, okay? The beneficial ownership information report goes straight to the federal government, okay, and state law enforcement, all right? It's much like your tax return. Nobody can pull your tax return unless you give them permission. There's a form that you fill out, usually for your lender when you're going for, let's say, a home, and they'll pull your tax returns, but not without your permission. Okay, so it's not readily available to the public. Now, there are some states like New York and California that are petitioning to have this information open to the public. And you need to talk to your state and planning attorneys about how to set it up so that your information is not readily available at the state level if you're in these states. Okay. So don't worry about privacy. Nobody other than you will know, and the federal government will know who's owner of these entities. And again, it's to combat more embezzlement and fraud, right? People trying to hide behind the LLCs. And if you're a legitimate business owner, you have nothing to worry about. Just go ahead and fill it out. So once again, starting January 1, 2024, the beneficial ownership information report will be available on fincen.gov. If you have formed your LLC or your S Corp or your multi-member LLC already, you have until the end of next year. If you form it after January 1st, 2024, you have 30 days unless otherwise stated. They may extend it to 60 or 90 days, but until then, please put it in your calendar to file. You do not want to pay those hefty fines. If you're not using your LLC or your S Corp anymore, it's inactive, go ahead and dissolve it, because you're going to end up having penalties not only for failure to file your beneficial ownership information report starting January 2024, you'll have penalties for failure to file with your state. Okay. If you haven't filed your state returns for your LLCs, you do have to file them, even if it's inactive. And not only that, you have to pay your annual fees, right? And in some states like California, it's very expensive, like $800 a year. So again, if you're not using these entities, go ahead and dissolve it. And if you're forming your business, I'll encourage you to start as a sole proprietorship. Okay. A lot of times people rush to form LLCs and you put yourself in a position where you have to revamp or maybe you lose wind in your startup and you just abandon it and you forget about it and you think there's nothing that, is going to happen. No, there's an obligation associated with it via the state and now the feds in January 2024. So if you're not using it, go ahead and dissolve it. Again, you can do a quick Google search. Many people, what they do is they start a business or even a partnership and the partners change or the people involved change because, maybe money is different or whatever have you. People change their minds and they've already formed their multi-member LLCs and now they have to change it and dissolve it. I always say start simple first until you're solid. You have the people that you want involved, or that you're solid in your operations, your income and your expenses, you have, frequent transactions, you're actually in business, and then you can go ahead and solidify your entity as an LLC or a multi-member LLC when you have your partner solid and protect yourself legally, but don't incur state obligations financially before you're actually certain. Okay. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it below. You can visit the link below or in my bio to join my free live training or to join the Tax Strategies Mastermind. We talk about legal tax avoidance techniques. We talk about real estate, business ownership, how to solidify yourself as a business, deductions, when to take them, how to track real time, how to keep your books and records. We keep our books and records monthly, how to do your profit and loss, and how to plan overall, including paying your family members, your children, to work in your business and to overall expand your operations and build wealth through the United States tax code. So again, go ahead and click the link below or in the bio, and I'll see you in the free live training or in the mastermind.